Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review Dark Match, and this is a new pro wrestling horror film coming your way from writer-director Lowell Dean, who previously did Die Alone that came out last year, which honestly was one of those small, unexpected films that packed a pretty big wallop and left a lasting impression with me. And here, going full-blown, gory, over-the-top horror action camp with this idea of a small wrestling organization being paid a lot of money by this backwoods community to come in and do this wrestling show. And what turns out to be some kind of sacrificial ceremony for the occult. And this cult led by pro wrestler turned satanic cult leader, Prophet, played by pro wrestling legend Chris Jericho, who previously, worked in Mexico and ECW and WCW, WWE, and now AEW. So obviously has gotten around in the world of professional wrestling. And in this particular film, story-wise, it has that, there's definitely, little bits of tension that build up between characters. You have our main character, Misbehave, played by Aisha Issa, who has this, relationship with some, awkwardness going on with one of the other wrestlers. There's tension between her and the only other female wrestler in this organization, Kate the Great, played by Sarah Canning. And you have all those kinds of little bits of tension that the film sets up decently well in its opening act that shows all of that through this first wrestling show that really sets the stage for the rest of the film. And then you see them expand out in this bigger context in terms of these crazy, over-the-top, ridiculous, sacrificial matches they get put on for different elements, some of which are very unnerving, but you get this character work. The basic story turns into, some kind of sacrificial tournament style, bit repetitive, and, you see where this film's going until, it takes some wild turns towards the end and even has the boldness to set up a wild story to come with some elements that you're just like, wow, this went there. And, I don't want to spoil it, but it goes to some pretty crazy places. Now, overall, I think the story is fine. It's serviceable. It does a decent job of setting up some reasons why some of these characters have conflict with each other. You have Prophet's backstory and surprising connections to this group that bring some emotional resonance. Now, I think the performances are a bit inconsistent. I think Issa does a good job anchoring this down as our protagonist. I think Chris Jericho shines a lot more inside the ring in this film versus him trying to sell any kind of emotional elements or drama. His acting's a little stiff, but there's some other character actors that do a really fine job too. I think the biggest selling point and why you're going to go into this is the crazy, over-the-top, ridiculous, gore-fest action that you get from these wild wrestling matches, whether it's you have giant fans or an Inferno match, not quite the Inferno match, with Kane and The Undertaker, but, there's fire. Probably the most unnerving one is the Earth one with a lot of glass. And, if you're a big fan of that hardcore kind of wrestling, this really leans into that. Story-wise, I think it's serviceable enough. I think there's some fun characters that we can latch on to, but, inconsistent acting across the cast. But where this really soars is its commitment to the wild nature of the film and to exactly what it's trying to deliver upon. Crazy, ridiculous, horror action that will gross you out and really unnerve you, and boy, does Dean commit to that and deliver that in this film. So, if you're looking for those genre elements that this film's really leaning into, it delivers. And I think it does a serviceable enough job with some of the other things to keep this film being an entertaining and enjoyable, ridiculous, over-the-top flick that's worth your time as long as you can stomach it. But those are my thoughts on Dark Match. Let me know what you think and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.